Today we are going to do electronics 1 experiment. Experiment 1, verification of thevenin's theorem. So the aim of this experiment is to verify the thevenin's theorems. The apparatus we use in this experiment is suitable resistors 1 kilo ohm, 680 ohm, 820 ohm, and 2.2 kilo ohm, and also the rheostat. In case of the rheostat, we can use the resistor. In case of the rheostat, 1600 ohm DC power supply, multimeter, and the connecting wires. So this is our apparatus. Then the procedure is first connect the circuit as shown in this figure. So we can connect the circuit like this. Circuit of the Thevenin's theorem. So this is R1, this is R2, this is R3, and R4. So this is the rheostat. So in case of the rheostat, we can use the resistor, or you can use the rheostat. So this is the DC source, DC power supply. So this is our circuit. This is a DC power supply. So our power supply is this one. So DC power supply 12 volt. Our DC power supply is 12 volts. This is the DC power supply, this is the AC power supply. So we can use the DC power supply, and we connect our connection like previous figure. So so this is our connections. These are our connections. So this is the rheostat. In case of rheostat, you can use the resistor. So this is R3, this is R4, this is R1, and this is R2. So we can connect to the DC power supply. Then we can remove the rheostat from our connection, and we can measure the Thevenin's voltage. This is the multimeter used to measure the voltage. So we can measure the Thevenin's voltage here. So this is our Thevenin's voltage, 2.68 volt. This is the Thevenin's voltage, and also we can measure the Thevenin's resistance. In case of the measuring the Thevenin's resistance, we can shortcut this our connections from the DC power supply. Then we can adjust into the resistors or multiply into the resistor reading. So 0.968 kilo ohm is our Thevenin's resistance. Then we can continue. This is experimentally, but theoretically we can check. This value. So by using this formula, theoretically you can check VThevenin's by using this formula, R3 over R1 plus R3 times V source 12 volt minus R4 over R2 plus R4 times V source. This is the Thevenin's voltage, and also we can check the Thevenin's resistance by using this formula. So this is experimentally, but this theoretically you can check by using this formula, and also by using this value you can get such result. So this is all about the thevenin's verification of thevenin's theorem. But again, we can check by connecting the load resistor or the rheostat between this, and also we can measure by changing the load resistor. We can measure the voltage, load voltage VL. So we can measure the load voltage. Okay, how this is 0. Our voltage is not functioning. Yeah, 0.02. Then by increasing the value of load voltage in a load resistor, we can measure the load voltage and we can determine the load current easily. So this is all about the Thevenin's theorem. This is the theoretical calculation. So in order to calculate the VTH, you can use this formula for this circuit. You can use this formula: VTH, Thevenin's voltage, R3 over R1 plus R3 times V source minus R4 over R2 plus R4 times V source. So finally we get theoretically this value 2.24 volt or 2.4 volt, but experimentally our VTH value is 2.66 volt. So we can easily determine the percentage of error. So in the case of Thevenin's resistance, also for this value, in order to determine the Thevenin's resistance, finally the result is 1.07 kilo ohm, but this is experimental value. So this is all about